Hey, so I wanted to catch up on Bitcoin, which ticker symbols on the screen here. It's BTC. I think there's a dash and then USD. BTC is like the main focus though. So last time we looked at this, and this might be the better place to start, is last time we looked at this was around June 2nd. It looks like I did buy this one. That's what that purple signifies. So I bought to some amount around 27,200. That's what it was trading at on June 2nd. So about a month has passed. I had buy points noted at 24,500 and 26,500. I believe it actually dipped to those levels. Um, we didn't set a reminder for us personally, so it looks like we missed out on a better opportunity to buy this one. But I'm not complaining at 27.2, which is where I bought it. We also noted resistance at 30,800 and 35,200. When we get into the technicals, we'll look to see if that's changed at all. And then our note here was uh, it's in a slight uptrend. I believe that's still active. And it was at the bottom of our trend range. We'll see if that's still the case today. Uh, but yeah, I do have some news to go over. A lot has happened in this past month, or at least I gathered a lot of material on what's happened in the past month, so we'll catch up on that. Then we'll dive into the technicals, and yeah, we'll just wrap up there. I will give a brief look at the technicals. So if we zoom in a little bit, here was June 3rd. This was week ending June 3rd. So right around that 27,000. Since then, it did pull back into, it looks like high 25,000 range. And then since then, it's back up at 30,000 now. So it actually crossed, dipped below our trend line that we hinted at earlier. And now we're back in that range. And it looks like we're closing in on resistance again. But let's see what the news is, and then we can uh, look at that chart a little more deeply. So again, Bitcoin starting off, the stablecoin issuer Tether said on Wednesday it will use as much as 15% of its net operating profit to purchase Bitcoin from this month. And again, this article was published in May, so a little bit before then, but something I saw that I wanted to include. There'll be a couple May articles before we get into the more recent stuff. Lawmakers in the UK said Bitcoin, Ether, and other cryptocurrencies should be regulated as gambling rather than financial services. So, not a good thing there. And then there was also congestion noted, which caused an increase in transaction fees on the Bitcoin network, which, again, probably around mid May, maybe some people saw it just wasn't transactions weren't going through as quickly, and maybe the fee went up. I did not notice that. Continuing on, again, still in May, regulatory strife in a jurisdiction such as the United States zealously tightened their grip on it. Unsurprising to see it pop out somewhere else. So again, uh, this article is hinting at there was too much happening around Bitcoin, and so it needed to come out somewhere else. So let's just keep going. Momentum is building as regulators outside the U.S., such as those in Hong Kong, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, and now the European Union, which just this week approved a landmark legislative framework for crypto, focused on inclusion of digital assets, increasingly becoming part of these jurisdictions' established financial ecosystem. So this is a good thing. Multiple locations are including it. So to me, that's letting me know if any pushback happens in the U.S., there's other locations that companies can kind of build up and it's more accepted. Continuing on, Tether has published quarterly details of its Bitcoin and gold holdings. Again, I get Tether's just being brought up because they're buying so much Bitcoin. Uh, they're making it more acceptable, I suppose, and it's just driving up, the Bitcoin activity. March 31st, uh, for Tether, uh, 1.5 billion in Bitcoin, roughly 2% of the company's claimed reserves. That's regarding Tether. Tether is the primary means by which Bitcoin is bought and sold. Tether mints new coins. They are largely spent on buying Bitcoin. Tether holding Bitcoin raises questions about its potentially undue influence on Bitcoin's price. All makes sense. Authorities in the Chinese city of Fuzhou unveiled policies to attract investment by companies associated with blockchain industry, which was kind of an interesting spin here for China to do this, namely because despite banning cryptocurrency trading and mining, China's central government is promoting the blockchain technology throughout the country. So I guess a plus and minus in the same breath here. China's identified blockchain as one of 7 major focus areas for the country's digital economy efforts. They're aiming to train more than 500,000 blockchain professionals to support the country's Web3 development. So we'll see how that pans out. Moving on, we have this was interesting. So Bitcoin is going to be going through a halving cycle. So we are now in a halving cycle, which tends to have Bitcoin go up with less than 1 year to the halving event. Based on when this was published, I'm not sure if it mentions it specifically, but the halving event is expected between now and May of 2024. Halving refers to a pre-programmed reduction of the rate at which new tokens are created, which reduces supply and can drive prices higher. So this is good news, especially if you get in sooner rather than later, while the supplies last. Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin-like cryptocurrency, had seen a surge in recent interest due to congestion. Okay, so it's mentioning we kind of pivoted there. Uh, but again, it's referring to the congestion with the Bitcoin network associated with the current popularity of ordinals. Okay, so this leads into Bitcoin came out with like its own NFT type thing called ordinals. On the recent popularity of ordinals on the Bitcoin network in particular, Bitcoin main the Bitcoin main chain was not really designed for this kind of purpose. Again, this is kind of now background. Layer 2 solution Liquid offers ways to incorporate ordinals and other initiatives on the Bitcoin blockchain without raising transaction fees, he added. Uh, so just like a recap, there was the halving. That's kind of important. And I guess the slowdowns that was happening on the Bitcoin network, that's due to these ordinals that Bitcoin came out with, which based on what I kind of took it as, it sounds like it's um, like an ETF, a Bitcoin type ETF that they're labeling as ordinals. This isn't, other companies have done it. It was just surprising to see Bitcoin do it. Bitcoin is currently demonstrating a new bear flag pattern, indicating a potential downward trend after weeks caught in a range below 30,500, which has remained a price ceiling for numerous weeks now. Uh, Again, so I believe that's one of our uh, that is one of our resistance points, 30,800. Uh, they're saying it's more specifically 30,500. It's been that way for weeks. Again, mid-May, I think we're around that range. Also mentioning an opportunity to go long on this was 23,000. Our figures were 24,500 was my figure, or at least the lowest. This one mentions, kind of shows the, what is it, the value of crypto. I mean, it's interesting to say the government shouldn't put any value into this, but then here's like some of the bigger states in the nation in terms of population and probably taxes and money. So Florida, Texas, New York, and California, crypto now plays a role in roughly 20 to 50% of divorces they handle in recent years. So I would assume at least 2 years. It just keeps popping up that any type of disputes between two parties, uh, when crypto's involved, they want that to be justified as a real asset as opposed to not. So uh, some solution is likely going to get made there. Um, this goes into MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is this company that uses cryptocurrency. So MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor says Bitcoin's price has bottomed. This was in late May. Again, if we look at our tracker, uh, it was around 27,000. So it might have been a little bit lower, but around 27,000 at this point. He's saying it's likely near the bottom. Crypto regulation will soon weed out Bitcoin's competitors, according to Saylor, which is good for Bitcoin specifically. Along with Bitcoin's halving and ordinals protocol, these are bullish signs. That's what Saylor's saying here. I do believe the halving is ordinals. I'm not really sure. I can understand it would bring attention to Bitcoin, which could drive it up. But long term, I don't think ordinals is going to be anything we really worry about, even probably by the end of the year. But we'll see. So to continue along with this, earlier this year, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, so SEC Chairman Gary Gensler said that everything other than Bitcoin falls under securities laws. So let me just say that one more time. Gary Gensler said everything other than Bitcoin falls under securities laws. Everything other than Bitcoin? Okay, I think the crypto tokens and crypto securities are going to be regulated, perhaps out of existence. Okay, this isn't the article I thought I was going to read here. The token is the one commodity that the SEC is not going to regulate. Bitcoin is the most secure network. It's the most secure asset. Everything else has got a black cloud hanging over it. Okay, so I don't know if I was just reading it wrong, but the first half made it seem like everything uh, is bad, uh, it, including Bitcoin, but I think I just misread it. Uh, let's just hold on. Okay. Um, but yeah, it sounds like what he's saying is Bitcoin is going to be fine. The other cryptos maybe be a little more hesitant on that because again, everything else has got a black cloud hanging over it. He added, "You're going to see a consistent flow of capital flowing from the rest of the crypto ecosystem into Bitcoin." So again, another reason why we actually like this one. We might even overpay for this based on just these news findings we're reading here. And then lastly, for this piece, Bitcoin's halving, a technical event that occurs roughly every 4 years, is tentatively slated for April 24th. This could pump the price of crypto by enhancing Bitcoin's scarcity. So April 2024, less than a year, that's when this halving event's going to happen. We want to start to prepare now. Moving into the EU, the European Union has introduced measures to ensure the traceability of crypto assets, compelling service providers to gather and disclose specific information regarding the sender and beneficiary of each transaction, irrespective of transaction size. This is aimed at curbing potential illicit activities and strengthen the EU's anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing rules. So they just want documentation here. Crypto asset service providers are obligated to collect and make accessible certain information about the sender and beneficiary on the transfers. That would be under the new rules. EU has approved the world's first comprehensive set of regulations for crypto assets called the Market in Crypto Assets. Good name. And it became that are set to become law by July of this year. So I'm not sure if that actually went through, but it's expected to go through this month. This is putting pressure on other countries like the UK and the US to more or less accept these too. Rules call for crypto firms that intend to issue, trade, and safeguard crypto assets in the 27-member bloc to secure a license. EU mandated the disclosure of sender and beneficiary names in the crypto transactions from January 2026. So it looks like they're going to let it go through, but it's going to take a while to kind of catch up. But once it catches up, they should be off and running. Uh, Less than 3 years. We'll see how this plays out. Uh, Moving on, so we're still at the end of May. Clearly, a lot was happening in May, but it'll kind of uh, tailor down a little bit. Uncertainty around the debt ceiling negotiations will keep weighing down the crypto market until a deal is reached, which is why we were seeing that sideways consolidation between 26,000 and 30,000. Positive news surrounding the U.S. economy will break the crab walk. Amount of Bitcoin that has been inactive for at least a year rose to an all-time high of about 68%. Could mean short-term selling pressure decreases if the Bitcoin not be able to tell whether the addresses belong to institutional investors or not. This suggests the increasingly more investors worldwide intend to hold their Bitcoin for the long term. This trend is likely to continue and even quicken, even potentially to the point of hyper Bitcoinization. Hyper Bitcoinization is a concept speculating on Bitcoin's eventual rise to become the world's ubiquitous form of money. Uh, it just makes sense, especially as Bitcoin continues to increase in value. People want to buy it and hold it for longer. This all makes sense. People are just thinking long term as opposed to trading actively. That's all this is getting at. There's still clearly people trade, but more and more people are doing this buy and hold strategy. Not surprising there. Bitcoin is on a tear in 2023. So we are still in May, surprisingly, but Bitcoin can't claim another all time until the macroeconomic environment clears up, says the head of Crypto Insights. A possible headwind is the potential recession forecast to hit the US, Europe, and other major economies due to the stubbornly inverted yield curve. Couple this with a bunch of other unsavory macro factors such as inflation, many investors would rather remain on the sidelines. Uh, okay. A key technical event for Bitcoin's network, the halving, could push the token's price up significantly, though. Although the halving is estimated to occur in April of 2024, host says Bitcoin may go on a tear leading up to the event. So they're assuming second half of 2023. Litecoin, which is due for its halving this year, is up around 90% since its lows. So Litecoin, I believe, is a direct competitor with Bitcoin. Seems to follow the same type of structure as Bitcoin, and I think that's why it's gaining such traction. Uh, so Litecoin has a very similar function with this halving, just like Bitcoin is due for its halving. Since its lows, okay. Therefore, if we take that as a guide, it's possible that we could see a similar 90% move from Bitcoin's Q3 2023 price, which would give a rough target of 60,000. I'm anxious to see if that happens. Hopefully, it doesn't go that quick. I'm hoping we can catch this one a couple times. As long as we check in once a month, I think we'll be okay, and we'll catch at least one, if not two, maybe more spots, but at least once or twice. I'm hoping to catch this one, assuming that's all true. Continuing on, the short to medium term driver is still inflation, and specifically U.S. inflation, this Shan said. Let's see, by Q4, many of the uncertainty that's clouded the market all year should have abated. We'll, of course, find out. Things like concerns over the Mt. Gox coins being liquidated or the U.S. government selling its stockpile of Bitcoin confiscated from black markets. Okay, that's interesting. So what's the government going to do with these seized assets? How will they be treated? Because I guess right now they're just sitting there in like a holding cell. Is like, how do they handle regular money? If they found like millions of dollars in cash, how do they treat that versus this? Do they just let it sit and die, or do they re-put it into the market? Not sure, but when those questions are answered, that's going to kind of tell us a lot here. So now we're into June. Nearly all, this is the first week, nearly all the other top 10 non-stable currencies rebounded even as U.S. regulators this week launched a series of lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase, alleging most tokens are unregistered securities. So here we go. The SEC is now pursuing these lawsuits. On Tuesday, which may be as early June, just a day after the SEC sued Binance for alleged security violations, the same regulator filed suit against Coinbase for allegedly breaching securities rules. SEC alleges Coinbase made billions of dollars unlawfully facilitating the buying and selling of crypto asset securities since 2019. The U.S. Alabama Securities Commission filed a so-called show cause order to Coinbase. The order gives Coinbase 28 days to show cause why they should not be directed to cease and desist from selling unregistered securities in Alabama. 9 other states, including California, where Coinbase is based, were part of the multi-state task force involved in this order. So that's very heavy news for crypto as a whole, but specifically Binance and Coinbase. I'm not sure if we follow Coinbase. I've considered it if it's not on the list. So wondering how that one took this news. To wrap this article up, though, what we've seen with crypto exchanges is that they have created a market where they act as the exchange, broker-dealer, depository, the transfer agent, and even the regulator in some cases. And that's kind of what's driving this. So it seems like they're just checking. They just want to see, is Coinbase doing it properly, or are they acting as all these components? Because if they're acting as all these components, they're in big trouble, and likely will need to close their doors. If they're not, if they're doing it properly, this is no issue. In this case, Binance operates as all of the above. So they're done. Or at least we'll see. It is no surprise to see us. It's no surprise to us that regulatory action would be taken, and that the SEC is going after Binance and Coinbase. We expected it to happen sooner, said Waterman at BlockStation, which describes itself as blockchain driving platform. Okay, so that's just another crypto investor's ideas. This slide's a little bit scattery, so I watched a couple videos. Most of these ideas came from Meet Kevin here. He posted this video. He posted this video, why Bitcoin is skyrocketing, in June 21st, so late June. So basically what happened, as we mentioned, SEC suing Binance and Coinbase on like 6/6, early March, or early June. But again, with the restrictions in like the EU and Hong Kong, how we mentioned earlier, a lot of companies are likely going to pursue that type of deal, so they wouldn't actually close. So maybe Binance and Coinbase won't close their doors. They'll just have to move from the US into the EU or Hong Kong or one of these places where rules are kind of more relaxed and more understandable of this market. This also is affecting, it seems like, Bitcoin versus other coins. Bitcoin seems like it's just too big to fail right now, but these other ones that keep cropping up, and traders of Bitcoin, they want to work on that. Potentially a lot are going to close, allowing Bitcoin to grow. That's one use case here. And then Kevin, in the video, he mentions how another reason for Bitcoin rising is they want to create a Bitcoin ETF. The SEC says not a commodity or security, but here we have BlackRock, a well-known and well-established financial institution, filing for a Bitcoin ETF, which would use a spot rate as opposed to a future rate. Apparently, future rates have been a thing for a little while now, and we probably touch on it, but a spot rate that literally follows Bitcoin like right now, as we're going to when we get into the technicals, there's nothing like that on the New York Stock Exchange. And so BlackRock is trying to do that. He estimates about 45 days to actually have that go through, if it goes through. And again, so June 21st, so maybe by the end of July, early August, we'll know if that was approved. If it is, Bitcoin should go way up because more people are going to buy into that ETF, which means more money's going into Bitcoin, and we'll just see the price go up. But so right now, not sure how that's going to turn out. But BlackRock's a very well-known company, so if they're saying it's valid, there's a good chance that this will go through. Next, we have more towards the end of June. You can see by the title, it's saying, Bitcoin's back at around 30,000, and it's been there for a little bit. But going into the article, a number of traditional financial institutions are showing interest in launching a crypto-related ETF. If that happens, we might follow it. I don't know. The U.S. securities regulator approved the first leveraged Bitcoin, so futures, I mentioned that earlier. On Friday, the U.S. SEC approved the nation's first leverage. Oh, so this was recent. I thought it happened a little bit sooner, but this just happened. The first leveraged Bitcoin future ETF offered by Florida-based Volatility Shares CoinDesk, set to start trading on June 27. So I have to assume this did start, and so it is a thing. Bitcoin is slowly inching its way into the New York Stock Exchange. This comes after BlackRock and WisdomTree, so two companies, filed applications with the SEC to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF. Again, we kind of touched on that in the last article. The regulator has given a green light to a number of futures-based crypto, but not approved a spot product. And that'll be a big difference going forward if it gets approved. Here we have the U.S. regulator that approves ETFs. The SEC on Friday indicated it was unimpressed by the Bitcoin ETF applications by the financial heavyweights such as BlackRock and Fidelity. Litecoin was one of the 4 tokens selected to trade on the EDX Markets Exchange, which is backed by Citadel Securities. The other tokens were Bitcoin, Ether, and Bitcoin Cash. So nothing really gained there. I'm not sure what this EDX Markets Exchange is, but again, a positive for Bitcoin. It's there, and it's better to be there, it sounds like. This is our last piece of news before shifting into the technicals. And this was just from Friday. So crypto investor appetite subsided as the SEC made no official comment on the Bitcoin ETF applications. And then another twist, focusing on Binance at least, where 2 executives left. Binance Chief Strategy Officer and Vice Presidents for Compliance said they're leaving the world's largest exchange, citing personal reasons. The CEO, in a tweet, called the departures normal turnover for large organizations. That's looking bad. I feel like Binance, I don't follow them, but if I did, I'd probably be shorting them because it sounds like they're in the gutter. And then this last point, it just mentions that currently, based on this FedWatch tool, that they're estimating that it's very likely a 25 basis point rate increase is going to happen during the next Fed meeting, which could be good for the financial industry and maybe materials. Not sure about the others. But that's news. So quite a bit that we went over there. Let's do just a quick refresh here and then go into the technicals. So again, last we looked was June 2nd, about a month ago. It was in this uptrend at the bottom of our trend range, which was why we marked it as a buy at 27.2. we had the buy points of 24.5 and 26.5 with resistance at 30,800 and 35,200. Let's get that out and let's go to our chart here. So the purple lines we have marked here, that is the uptrend. I'm going to pull this down a little bit, just to make it. I want it to be as parallel as possible. But this uptrend started in January of 23, so I am going to add that into the note. Slight uptrend since January 2023. Right now it's sticking in that range. Last we looked was June 2nd. Again, that was here. It dipped below the range, which this would have been an optimal time to get in. We got in at 27.2. Interesting. Yeah, okay. Around 27.2. No guarantee I got it at that spot exactly. But yeah, dipped lower, then rose all the way back. So we definitely made something on this. And as we projected, resistance at 30,800, that's that dark blue line. It seems to be stalling there again. It's just, now we're going to see which trend wins. And so what I mean is we have the purple uptrend here, and we also have resistance at 30,800. Within the next 1, 2, 3, 4, within the next month, we're going to get an answer here. And that answer is going to tell us, is this uptrend intact? And we're just going to keep burrowing through, slowly chipping up, and that 30,800 line is going to just disappear over the next month, and we're going to carry on going upwards. Or is it going to hold steady, and we're going to see just a trading pattern emerge where it'll peak down to maybe 25,000, maybe 24,000, and then bounce back up to 30,000 and just kind of repeat that cycle for a little bit before something changes, whether good or bad. But that's kind of where we're at. And so if I were to update this one today, right off the bat, keeping what I know in mind for this one, let's just update the current price. So it went up about $3,000. Okay, so we're gonna say 3,000 or 30,200. It's roughly there. The buy points for me, if this one pulled all the way down to the bottom of that purple uptrend, that would be about 29,000 exactly. So I'm going to add in 29,000. Let's make that a little bit wider for us. 29,000. Okay. We also noted, I would say this green line should pull. Okay, that's fine. So we have a line here at 27 and 24. 24.2. I would pull this up a little bit more. Yeah, in terms of support, yeah, just playing it as it is right now. So these are going to get updated. So I'm going to change the 26.5 to 27.3. And we're updating that 24.5 to 25.3. The point of interest for me is probably 27.3. is the safest. But I would be a little more aggressive with this one. I think this one has a lot of potential in front of it. It's not perfect, but right now, yeah, my number would be that 29,000. I would be okay with that. And of course, if it dropped lower, even better. But for right now, I'd be waiting for that 29,000. Why is this doing that? Bold that. What? I don't get this. Having some technical issues here. Not sure why. What? I don't get this. Having trouble. Okay. Okay, I got it. So yeah, I added 3 buy points, or updated to 3 buy points, but I made 29,000 the point of interest right now. And again, we'll see. I mean, this one could easily come crashing down to like 25, and I'd be okay with overpaying for it a little bit now, knowing that I'd probably catch it at the dip. Resistance, we're still going to keep that 30,800. That's been strong. It was very strong in April for a number of weeks, and here we are again. Cannot get over that point, but we will have a final decision soon. And then I had 35,200. 35.2. That's this second from the bottom blue line, and that's just acting as, it looked like from May of 2021 till July, so about 2 month period where it dipped around 35.2, and there was support there, very close to like 30,000, 31,000, but it just couldn't get over 35 for a little bit. We're still a little bit a ways from there. So for right now, 30,800 is my number, and the fact that we're at 30,200, I'm gonna mark this one red. I don't like it right now. Let me see something else real quick. The other resistance point, gosh, why is it doing this? Here we go. Would be about, surprisingly, about 35,000 is within reason. That's nuts. This one has some potential here. Huh. But yeah, I guess 30,000 right now. That seems to have more weight behind it for whatever reason. So because of that, I will have 30,800 as my point of resistance. But that, I feel like that's going to get changed pretty quick. It's still kind of at the bottom of the range. I would say more it's in the middle, but closer to the bottom. So I'll keep that note in there. And then I'm going to update to today's dates. And we didn't buy this time, or at least I'm not planning on it. So I'm going to remove the purple color. And that's pretty much wrapping this one up. Yeah, so just a quick summary here. Bitcoin, we marked red, which down here, this shows the colors, what their meaning is. So red is resistance, meaning I'm not going to buy that. That's the only color we need at this point. Currently, it's at 30,200. It is in this slight uptrend, which has been in effect since January. It's somewhere on the bottom, so it's not terrible time to buy. It's just we noticed resistance at about 30,800. We're very close to that. Ultimately, I do think it's going to break above that, but for right now, it's acting as pretty strong resistance, so I'm willing to wait to see if it pulls back just to 29,000. Doesn't have to fall very far, but I'd like it to pull back at least in the 29s. I think I would be comfortable with that. And yeah, that wraps this up. So if you want to add any comments, add anything that you think is important that I might have missed, feel free to do that. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.